G'day, it's Rusty and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to be cutting 6 gate panels. Now 4 of them make up the panels across a double driveway. Now each of the driveway gates are 2.4 meters wide, so when the gates are shut you've got a 4.8 meter wide opening. And each of the gates being 2400 wide, we're going to cut 2 panels per gate because the width of the sheet is only 1200. So we're going to have, and they're 950 high. So when the gates are closed, the pattern you see that goes out to the left is mirrored onto the right hand side, so you get the mirror image of this floral design. And the other 2 gate panels, one's a side gate, one's for a pool gate, and they're smaller. However, one of the gates is 1600 wide. Now, as you know, my table has a cut area of 1300 by 1300, but I recently worked out how to do some index cutting. And index cutting is where you can cut something on the table that's longer than the cut area by dividing the cut file into 2 pieces, have a reference point on the table, so you cut the top part of the file, stop it, then move the sheet back, move the torch back, and then the software carries on. So you end up with a cut the piece comes off the table bigger than the cut area. So I made a video recently of how we did that, and I've got to do that again today. I'll put a link in the description below for that index cutting video. We're making all these panels out of 3mm mild steel, and I'll just take you over the computer and I'll show you the designs we're going to cut. We're going to load some steel onto the table and we'll cut these panels out. Okay, so this is the design of the left gate, and the left gate and the right gate, as I said, have 2 panels each. So as you're looking at the gate, this is the outer panel half, if you like, and I'll show you what the other one looks like. So this is the other panel, the inner of the 2 panels, if you like, as you stand looking at the gate. And if I show you what the 2 of them together look like, so this is the design of the 2 panels. As you can see, this sort of flowing branch and leaves, there's a couple of birds and some butterflies, and the right hand side gate is the same 2 panels but mirrored. So when you see it the other way around, you're seeing the whole thing, you know, in its entirety spread across both gates. So this is the mirror image of the left gate. So this is the 2 right hand gate panels, and let me just show you the 2 together to see the entire layout. And this is the gate panels. These 2 are the 2 left hand side, this is the 2 right hand side. So as you can see, it's a mirror image of each other, so when the gates are closed you have that sort of symmetrical view, which is what the client wanted. So alright, so let's get on to cutting these now. Now we're here in my Plasm. This is the software I'm using. I've brought the file in, the sheet of steel is on the table, the torch up here is up in the top left hand corner. I've zeroed the torch. Down here are my cut settings. This is for Thermocut 3mm. I'm running the 45 amps on the plasma cutter. I have a kerf width of 1.5 millimeters, and I'm running 0 volts on the torch height controller. So I let the software manage that, the torch height respective to the voltage it sees when the plasma arc starts. All right, so we're ready to go. We'll hit the start button and cut this first panel. There we go. There's the cut time. Working time 7 minutes 54 seconds to cut this panel out, 1200 by 950. And that's the first of 4 for the gate panels. So now we'll just move the sheet down the table and then we'll cut the second one. So now I've imported the second of the left-hand gate panels. This is panel B. Same settings as before. Torch is up in this top left-hand corner. I've zeroed it. We're ready to go. So we'll hit the start button and cut the second panel. And this is that right hand side panel for the left gate. I'll just take all these dropouts out and we'll take this one off the table as well. So now that we've cut both the panels for the left hand side gate, so this is now the right hand side gate. This would be like the inner panel and it's the mirror of the other side. So we're set up. We've zeroed the torch, we've told it it's up here in this top left corner. So now we're ready to hit the start button. And it took 9.5 minutes to cut this side panel. And now we'll just take this off the table, move the sheet back, and then we'll cut the last of these 4 gate panels. All right, so this is the last of the 4 double gate panels. And the steel is on the table. The torch is up here in this top left corner. I've zeroed the torch. We're now ready to hit the start button. Let's do that now. And this is the last of the 4 gate panels that we've just cut. I'm going to try and get it all in on the video. I've taken all the dropouts out of it and now we can take it off the table and to be cleaned. Alright, so now we've finished the 4th of the large gate panel pieces. We can now move on and do the 2 individual smaller gates, and the larger of the 2 we need to do that index cutting, and we'll show you that as we do it. And these are the 4 gate panels straight off the table. You can see how it will look when the gates are sort of closed, and I'll just come across and show you how they look individually. Oh, let me get out a bit. Alright, so this is how that's the first panel and that's the second panel that make up the left gate, and as you can see that design is mirrored across here, which will be the right hand gate. So that's the first panel and that's the second one. So they're straight off the table. As I said, I've got to clean them, and the client's actually going to have the gate frames made to suit these sizes, and then the whole thing, I believe, is being powder coated. This is the next panel to be cut, and this is the one for their pool gate. Now I've had to turn it over on its side because all these gates are 950 high. Now this one is now 951 wide, 950 wide by 750 high, and the reason I've laid it on its side is because the 750 top to bottom of this panel, that only leaves me with what's that, 1650 of metal left on the full sheet. Well, I need 1600 of that for the indexed cut of the side gate, so that's why I've cut it sideways. So the 3mm mild steel is on the table, the torch is up here, I've zeroed the torch. We're now ready to cut this. And this is that pool gate panel, so it's 950 high, 750 wide. Now with this side gate, I said this one's 1600 long, what we've done is we've referenced the table, we've got our reference mark here, and we've marked the sheet. We've run the torch down 1080, so we've run the torch down 1080 past our reference mark. We've got a little bit of clearance on the metal behind the torch. So once we've done the first half, we need to measure the 520 from this point down the front of the sheet. Then we've got to push that whole thing back and then move the torch back. But first of all, I'll just show you what we've done in the software and we'll get this ready to cut. This is the file for the side gate. It's turned on its side to make it run down the table. It's 1600 by 951 wide. Now, if we just zoom in, you actually see there's a cut that finishes here and a new one starts here. There's a couple of mil gap. Same thing over here where these leaves are. So we've got to do the top half of the cut file first, and then we'll do the second part. And let me just get this in here. So what we've got is the same settings as before. The torch is up in the top left-hand corner. We've indexed the table. So now we're ready to cut, and with my fingers firmly crossed, we'll start this process of cutting, and it'll cut the inside pieces of the top part of the file. It'll then come from here up around, and what we need to do, the very important thing to do is, as it finishes this cut, comes up and goes to move to cut this piece, we need to stop it, and then I'll show you what we got to do to move the sheet down. Okay, the cut has now finished this outside border as well as all the inner bits. And I just stopped the cut process as it reached this point. So it's lined up, it knows where it is to cut the next bit, but we've now got to move the sheet back, we've got to move the torch back, and let me do that and I'll come back and show you what we've done. So now the torch has done the cut on the outside border to this point, which is the top part of the file. Now, this is where we've got to move the sheet back and also move the torch back and maintain that reference point. So let me do that and I'll explain what we're going to do to cut the second bit. Now, one thing to remember before you try and move the sheet on the table is to take all these dropouts out, because some of the small ones, or even the big ones, can get caught on the slats as you try and move the sheet. So yeah, just something to remember before you move it. So this is the mark on the sheet, 520mm down from the last cut, and I've referenced it against our reference point. And as you can see, there's the cut there. We've finished. The torch is above the new pierce point. So the torch is now above the new pierce point, and we're ready to cut the second part. We've just got to trick the software into believing that the torch is not down here on the front of the table anymore. So I'll just do that and then we'll get underway with cutting the second part. All right, one important thing to note is we need to note the position up here of the y-axis. This 0045.45, that's important because that's our reference point for when we move the sheet back 520mm, because that's the second part of this cut file. So we need to add 520 to 45.45 in order to put the torch in the correct place. And we've got to measure 520mm from the reference mark down the sheet 520 and sort of get it all lined up, otherwise it'll cut weird. All right, let me do that. All right, so we noted that the y-axis dimension was 45.45. We had to move the torch back 520, which made 565.45, which is where it is now. The x-axis never moved. It's still 30.02 off the edge. Now what we have to do is a little bit of trickery in the software. The torch is physically back here, but if I hit the start button now, the torch will drive down to this point. I go back into the import screen of the cutting software. I tell it I just want the lower piece, which is this lower piece. I import that by itself, and now you can see everything is still the same. There's the cut path for all of these, and we are ready to cut this. Set the sequence and we're ready to go. So we're now in a position now to cut this. So that's the side panel gate cut. Said 1600 long, 950 high. Now, this is where the join was. This is where the start and stop was. Let's just see there. I've just nicked it with the... so where the two border cuts stopped and started is just there. I've just nicked it with the grinder because it was a tiny bit of a bridge, not anything really that I was concerned about. I've taken the pieces. Now there were joins in this particular two halves of this branch, one here and one here. So I'll take the sheet off, and so if I just give those a bit of a wiggle, they'll probably break those little bridges there. All right, so really pleased with the way that turned out. As I said, that's the index cutting, so that's 1600 long, and my table only has a cut area of just over 1300. So that's how we do that index cutting, and I'm really pleased with the way that came out. Let me see if I can get a picture of that up here like that. So that's how the gate panel looks. I'll just get it off the table. And this is the side panel. Now it's been cleaned, and I'm really pleased that I can do that indexing cut, which allows me to cut that in one piece. So, and I'm sure the client's going to be really pleased with all these panels. Now this is the side gate panel. That's the 1600mm wide one that we cut in one piece, and this is the pull gate panel. And these are the 4 gate panels that make up the 2 gates. So the left side gate panels and the right side gate panels, that's a bit of a mouthful. As you can see, the pattern from the middle comes up and goes out, so each side's a mirror of each other, and each gate's 2.4 meters wide, and the panels are 1200 each. So now that they're finished, the client's going to have a fabricator make the gate frames to suit these panels, and they're being powder coated, and then they'll be hung on their property. So if you like the video, a thumbs up would be appreciated. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, the subscribe button is down here. Don't forget to tap the bell icon and you'll be notified of upcoming videos as well. If there's something you don't like about the video and you give it a thumbs down, I'd certainly appreciate you putting in the comments what it is you didn't like, because I'm always trying to make better content for my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there's a link in the description below to buy me a coffee, and I appreciate all the support I've been getting. I mentioned when I cut that 1600 wide side gate panel that I'd used an index cutting process that I had developed in another video, and I'll put a link to that video here somewhere if you wanted to check out how that works. So that's it for this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.